What's up, YouTubers? It's me, Johnny. It's Saturday night in Shela, Guatemala. It's pretty chilly. Had a nice sunny day here. I got outside a little bit. It's a little bit windy. It's been windy the last few days. I think yesterday it sprinkled a little bit. I think right now in Central America we're in kind of the dry season now. Let's see, it's January 15th, so yeah, we got till like March. No, not March. Maybe March, but May. Maybe April, May and June is when it starts to get wet again. So you're starting to see more people in shorts here, even though to me it's a little too cold. And starting to see a few more tourists trickling in. Tonight I want to talk about macro events, markets, what's going on in the markets, what's going on with the Fed, what I think is going to go on with the Fed. My view is last week or the last couple weeks, my view has been that the Fed will not raise interest rates. To that end, I saw Raoul Pal, who's on Real Vision. His view is, at least from the last few interviews I've seen, he does not think the Fed's going to raise rates. Now, another person I watch quite a bit is, I forget his name, but I'm not going to look it up on my email. But anyways, I can't think of it. Anyways, his view was, he's an ex hedge fund manager, one of the big players. I forget which one, but one of the big bad ones. Anyways, his view is until like this week, he didn't think the Fed was going to raise rates, and now he's thinking the market, taking clues from the market, from what's going on in the markets, that the Fed will probably have one rate increase. That makes sense to me. I could go either way. I kind of lean towards they probably won't, but I also can see it where the markets had the P knocked out of it lately. So at least in the crypto markets and in a lot of the tech shares, some of the tech indices is now, some of the tech indices are starting to fall. S&P not so much. We're seeing the Russell get hit pretty hard. So not like, to me, this ain't much of a correction. Like nowadays when you get a 5 or 10% correction, people go crazy and think it's the end of the world when it's really not. But we live in a world where the Fed inflates the money supply, and markets just go up. Even when gold's in a bear market, it's higher than it was. Except for last year was down 4%. Some people call that a stable coin. No, I know some people mean that as an offensive thing. I actually like it. It is kind of a stable coin. It'll be up 5 or 10% or down 4%. Doesn't do very much. At least it hasn't for a while now. Anyways, getting back to what I think is going to happen. I think the market's priced in about 3 interest rates increases if you look at the futures contracts and how they're trading. So the market suspects there's going to be 3. Again, I'm going to lead towards there either be 1 or 0. And the reason I'm saying that, I think the market has overreacted, and I think starting next week and maybe the next week after next week, in the next few weeks, we're going to see markets maybe recover. We'll have to wait and see. I can kind of go either way with this, but I suspect markets have overreacted. And I can say when the unemployment numbers have been coming out the last couple of weeks, the rate of unemployment going down has slowed down a lot. In other words, unemployment's coming down, but not that much. In fact, if you looked at this last week's numbers, unemployment, it looks to be ticking up. Excuse me. It looks to be there's more and more people getting laid off. I think in the manufacturing sector that will continue to be the case. Anyways, I think as the numbers come out, and if they're bad or if they're not so good, kind of neutral, I think the Fed's going to pivot. Maybe not right away. It'll be a month or two. We'll have to wait till March to see what happens, to see what actually happens. But I can see where the Fed will start to get more dovish, and maybe in March raise rates very little. In fact, I could see it where they'll be one and done. They'll raise interest rates. They will raise interest rates one time and it will be done. I could see that as a possibility. I can't see them raising 3 or 4 rate increases. I'm hearing people thinking the Fed's going to raise the rates 0.5% a shot. I'd be shocked to see them do that if they actually did that. If the first interest rate increase was 0.5%, and they said they're going to do 2 more, I would expect the markets to go crazy and sell off. It'd be a good time to short the markets if that were to happen. But I think what's going to happen is that's not going to happen. Obviously, if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But what I think is going to happen is we'll see more and more weak sales numbers count. We saw that this week. We'll see more and more unemployment kind of bottoming out or ticking up a little bit. We're going to see more bottlenecks or not, the bottlenecks not improving that much. We might see inflation come down a lot, or a little bit, but not a lot. And if it comes down a little bit, the Fed will want to crow about that. And if the economic numbers keep coming out not so great, in other words, they're pretty weak or pretty mixed, the Fed might start advertising to the media that they're not going to raise interest rates. We'll have to see. Or what they might do is they might raise rates 0.25% and be done. Now, if that's what they do, if they're one and done, or if they raise rates like very little, and as the economy gets worse, let's say rates just go up to 0.5% or 1%, I doubt they'll go with that high. If they did, and then we get another economic crisis, they'll have to bring them down to 0 again, coming from 1%. That's not good. So what will happen is, or my opinion is, they'll have to inflate the money supply way, way more than they have in the past to get the same results. They'll have to taper way, way more than they have in the past to get the same results. In fact, what I think will happen, they won't say they're not tapering, but if the markets do keep selling off with this interest rates increase, they may raise rates, but they may keep inflating or tapering and using money to buy bonds and stocks. Now, it's been talked about. I'm not sure what the Fed actually said, but my impression was from looking at all the commentary, the Fed is looking to buy shares the next time there's a big sell-off. Again, that's not good. And again, over a long period of time, to me, that would be inflationary. And that would go with my case that owning assets over a long period of time, I don't even think it really matters what they are unless you want to outperform the market. But most assets, including homes, are going to keep going up, and gold and silver and rare earths, copper. If we get a green revolution, that's going to require a lot of copper and require a lot of digging up of the planet and polluting it, contrary to what environmentalists believe will happen. Anyhow, that's beyond the scope of this video. So what I think is the economy is going to slow down. Someone in the world is going to panic, and they'll have to drop rates if they actually raise them. Right now, the EU says they're not. Right now, the Fed says they will. So let's talk about where things are right now. The markets on Friday were pretty mixed. They were barely up, barely down. The Dow was down about 0.5%. NASDAQ was about 0.5%. The S&P 500 barely moved. It was up, 3 points, almost 4. The Russell 2000, like I said, small caps have been selling off. They were barely up 3 points. Crude, surprisingly, is up 2.5%. I've been expecting a sell-off in oil, and I've been way wrong. So just putting that out there, that with all the chaos happening in Europe and with a potential war scenario in the Middle East and in North Africa and things like that, maybe that's why oil is trading up. I don't think it's because of inflationary pressures. I think it's just fundamentals where the EU put all their energy, they put all their capital in, political capital in green energy, and especially Germany, they totally flopped. But for whatever reasons, whatever it is, oil was up to almost 3%, 2.5%, $84. If it stays up and keeps going up, that is going to cause some things to happen where we will be in a recession sooner than people think. Gold was down 0.25%. I just wanted to show you real quick. Silver down 0.75%, but 10 years we're up 3.5%. In other words, interest rates are going up, so the 10-year bond is almost at 1.8%. During the start of the week, I think 1.72. Now it's at 1.77. I think we're going to get up to 1.82 or 1.8. In my opinion, you want to go long the bond if you're a trader. That's what I'm going to do, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Because I think the economy's going to slow down. I don't think they're going to raise interest rates much, and that will cause 20-year interest rates and 10-year interest rates to just plunge. Again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. in that kind of event, I expect gold to take off. So I'll talk about gold right now. I think gold's going to go up 50, 60%. Gold, I think, was at 1820 or 1810. Yeah, 1817. I think gold's going to go up to 2,500, 3,000. I even think it could go higher, like 3,500. But I think what's going to happen is if the Fed and the EU panic and the Japanese central bank panics, they're all going to be inflating and doing whatever they call tapering or whatever they're going to call it. And then we're going to see assets come up, everything. So I think we're going to be in a situation where the dollar might go up and gold and Bitcoin could go up all at the same time. That's kind of a weird situation. I can also see where the dollar might go up a little bit or even a lot with what's happening in Turkey, what's happening in Lebanon. Because don't forget, Turkey and Lebanon, their currencies are still crashing. Well, Turkey not as much, but Lebanon. There's still a lot of macro events in the emerging markets, like in Turkey. I'm thinking more Turkey, Brazil, a little bit in Colombia, where the dollar could still rally a lot. Right now, I don't think it will, but I mean, it's in the back of my mind that the dollar could stay stronger for longer than I think. So that's partly why I would be buying 10 and 20-year interest rates when they get up to a certain point. And this would not be a long-term hold. I'm talking about a trade, not a long-term hold. Because once an emerging market credit event happens, or once some kind of credit event happens in the U.S., we're seeing a credit event happen with Evergrande in China. Somewhere in the world, something's going to break, and the Fed will have to discreetly bail out that part of the world if they're an ally of ours. And if it disturbs European and American markets, expect all central banks of the world to cooperate. I'm not sure about China and Japan, but China and Japan might actually lower rates or inflate more. Okay, now I'm not really sure if I want to talk about cryptocurrencies for a while. I'm not really sure they're going to rally. It looks to me right now on a Saturday night they are. Like, here's the ADA chart against Bitcoin. A lot of my friends are skeptical about it, but because there's so much bearishness, I think it's going to keep going up. As we can see, it just went through this trend line. We just went up through a resistance area, and it's popping up unreasonably reasonable volume. This is a KuCoin, in case you want to know. Again, I'm talking about ADA against Bitcoin. Looking at Luna earlier this afternoon, Luna went through a trend line. I'm not sure if there's resistance right up in here. And we're coming back down, and it looks like we're going to bounce off whatever resistance is and go higher. I would not be surprised, even if we're in a bear market and I'm wrong about Bitcoin, I would not be surprised if Luna outperforms in a bear market. In other words, Luna is strong in the bear market. But I think this bear market may be coming to an end. Here's another trend line up here I forgot about. Yeah, I didn't see it. See, we're bouncing right off it. We came down. Now we're getting confirmation. Now I think it's going to pop right back up. Phantom coin is, I don't know. I've been thinking it was going to go up to $5, and I still think it might. We'll have to wait and see. But long term, it's an interesting play if you're into gaming. Engine coin, same thing. Engine is not doing much. PYR just selling off right as I made this video. It's going up through this trend line. It came back down. It's at about $15.60. I grabbed some coins at $10.80. But I think, again, this is a long-term play, not so much a trade. Remark is another gaming coin. It's going through a trend line, so it could sell off into the 20s. I would just add, in my opinion, if you're a long-term holder. Cosmos is interesting. I've been thinking it would break this trend line for a long time. I've been wrong. It's just hitting it, selling off. We're getting lower low, or we're getting lower highs. If we go through this trend line, I would not be adding. I would wait and just collect interest on your coins if you can. AVAC is interesting. It's kind of a coin that's been popular lately. I think we'll be back up to 100, maybe 200 fairly certain. I'm not as bullish on this. I'm just mostly trading it. And if we get through the trend line, we could see something up into here. I'll have to see, but I would not be surprised to see it at 120 pretty fast. We already looked at ADA. Normally, I don't like ADA because the founder, Hoskin, he's not much into promotion, and he's slow and steady. But as of right now, like I said, we bounced off this trend line here. We went through this trend line. Now we're going up through some resistance, and we're at 139. And I think we're going much, much higher. Now moving on to, let's see, Bitcoin. I'll refresh this. Bitcoin's down a little bit right now as I record this video. It's up about 2.33% for the last 7 days. Ethereum's at 3,300. It's come up since its lows. I want to say 3,030 or something. It's up 5% for the last 7 days. BNB is up 13% for the last 7 days. And now here's an interesting place, Solana. Long term, I think that's going to be a good place to grow your capital quite a bit. And then we got Cardano Xrp. I don't know what to make of XRP. It's just not doing much. Terra Luna, I'm fairly bullish on. In fact, I would be more bullish on Terra Luna. I'd be with Terra Luna and Solana. Polkadot, I grabbed a whole bunch of coins early this month when they were on sale. It's doing really, really well. I don't know what I'll do. I might hit the bid on those. I'm not sure yet. Polymatic is another coin you can own long term. AVAX. I think they're making a case where they might be a good long term play. I don't know. But I just don't like concentrating too much capital amongst too many coins. Anyways, that's about all I want to say for like coins. My biggest thesis is if you want to make a lot of money and you want to manage a lot of risk or take on a lot of risk, the gaming coins like UFO, PYR, Remark, Abagochi, I'm forgetting Seawar, Wild, they're all fairly speculative. Well, except for PYR, but they're all, well, maybe even PYR is speculative, but I would consider PYR more the large cap and like Seawar, Wild, UFO more speculative, but they could really, really make huge gains. 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1. Whenever Bitcoin's bottom out and starts going back up, those gaming coins are going to go through the roof. And I didn't even name Gala. There's just like a shit ton of those coins. I don't even think it really matters which ones you buy. Find ones you like. Position size small so you don't put too much risk into any specific coin unless you have done your homework. Anyways, just real quick, I want to go over to see what's going on with currencies. I'll put in Brazil, USD, see what we got. I think it's 5.5. Yeah, 5.5. I think there's going to be more chaos in Brazil and the currency is going to sell off. What's the Mexican peso at? Let's see. I think we're at 20 1/3. No, it's not giving me what I want. I want it the other way around. Oh, USD peso. Oh. $20 1/3. If the Fed starts printing money again, or whenever this Bitcoin rally starts up again, whenever the Fed and the EU capitulate and say they're not going to raise rates, then we're going to see emerging market rally. That's when I'd buy the peso, go long the peso. I still think it could sell off a little bit. I might be wrong. I think Brazil's going to sell off. Let's look at the Guarani. I wonder where that's at. 6,900. I remember when it was back at 4,000, so it looks like it's climbed about 50%. And I want to just show real quick the peso, the Colombian peso. People don't realize how much the Colombian peso sold off. I think it's at 4,000 right now, 4,030 or something, 4,007. So it's rallied a little bit, not much. My only point of going across or showing these currency cross rates against the USD is if there's more and more chaos in the markets, the dollar could rally. And if you're looking for a place to pivot in Latin America, Brazil's always nice if you don't mind all the travel restrictions going on. Almost all countries have these restrictions except for El Salvador and Mexico, I think. Brazil's nice. Colombia's nice. Peru's okay. Peru was 4-1, but now it's at 3.8 to 1 now. The last time I look at the Sol or the Sole. There's all kinds of cool places in Latin America you can land. My preferences are always Mexico, Central America, and then I lean towards Peru and Colombia and Brazil. But I always like to have a place where, a large country where there's a variety of big cities, a variety of small towns or colonial towns, and a part of the country where it's a lot less developed. Like in northern Mexico, it's way more developed. Wages are higher, infrastructure is way better. Whereas in southern Mexico, it's not as much, and it can be quite a bit cheaper. In the east of the country, it's just as true in Mexico. Whereas when in the north and the northwest, it's a lot more developed. Brazil's like that from the north-south divide perspective. And what I like about parts of South America is you can be out of the big cities in maybe in New York second or a minute. But if you're willing to jump on a plane, you can be in the jungle or the smaller communities where a lot of these rules and regulations don't even apply. They're just suggestions, and you can earn a living pretty easy. Even I saw Nagelbud's movie, or pardon me, one of his latest videos, he got a job. He's making local wages there. It's kind of interesting. He was learning some new skills. You can do that all over Latin America, in Brazil, in Peru, I'd imagine, even Colombia. But once you get into these smaller communities, if you can be of service, you can earn a pretty good living if that's what you want to do. And you can be a big city if you just want to earn money online and do things like that where you make quite a bit more money. Anyways, I don't know. I got off the subject a little bit. I just wanted to make a video of what I think's going on. I think the big picture is gold's going to go up quite a bit because there's going to be the gold and the dollar, and maybe possibly Bitcoin will go up all at the same time. But I especially think gold, the dollar's going to rally. 10 and 20-year interest rates are going to rally. People think there's going to be a big sell-off. I'm of the opinion the sell-off won't be so big. And once you get to a certain point, you want to get long interest rates. Once that happens, the Fed will panic. The EU will panic. The Japanese central bank will panic. They'll coordinate panic. And they'll start flooding the markets with a lot of euros, dollars, and yen. I think at some point the Chinese economy is going to roll over. Well, it's rolling over right now. But at some point, the Chinese government is going to roll out I don't want to call it a bailout package, but the Chinese economy has positive interest rates, and they're going to take them down, I think. Not right now, but when they do, and when you think of all the commodities you're going to buy, that's going to affect asset prices all across the world. Anyways, that's it for now. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Have a good evening wherever you're at.